And they were like, I'm going to go out and I'm going to go meet some people in one of my hobbies, and I'm going to see what happens. I'm going to take your advice. And for me, that is, I will always be successful because I had that one moment.
Yeah. There was one person that took your message and was like, I can apply this to my own life to make my own life better. And boom, you can retire now. No, but I do think that's a great message to send to people. Like, try new things. Don't be afraid. And I can tell by your content that is the kind of community and the kind of mindset that you're fostering.
Greetings, mortals. Brimthen Barlow here, and today we are going to be doing a Brimthen's Babbles podcast. We have on the podcast today Zanadood. Me and him met over at TikTok, made a few messages together. I got really interested in a lot of the TikToks that he was doing. Is apparently a teacher on the side and a streamer on Twitch, and I welcome you over here to the podcast.
All right. Well, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. And yeah, I'm really excited to be here, and I'm glad that we were able to make that connection over on TikTok, which is kind of how I made a lot of connections in streaming so far.
Yep. And, we kind of try to find unique people, and I thought your situation of being a teacher and a streamer was very interesting. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
All right. So I teach computer science at a middle school in my hometown. And what's been interesting with that is like a lot of us, I haven't really promoted it with my students, but like I have kind of some students know. And that has led to some kind of interesting stories with like students popping into chat and trying to drop as much details about my life as they possibly can without getting in trouble, or like just genuinely trying to troll me, which I think is funny. And they'll talk about it at school like the next day. They'd be like, oh, did you see Mr. on Twitch last night? And then some people will be like, oh yeah, I did tune in. So I think that's been kind of cool. And I think a lot of kids kind of resonate with that because at this point, I mean, everybody's watching something on either YouTube or Twitch. So it kind of makes it a little bit, makes me a little bit more relatable, and it kind of makes the kids a little bit more excited to go. Yeah,
I think that's a really, really cool way to both interact with your community and kind of interact with your students in a way. And I've noticed lurking around on there, you've got a really loyal community. Like, I've been sitting there going, man, like his community is like really vibing, hanging out, like consistent. You seem to be flourishing quite a bit.
Well, thank you. I kind of had to switch it up a little bit. I started off like only playing Minecraft, and like I hosted a Minecraft server for everybody to play on. And that was my lifeblood. Like I did that for the first 3 or 4 months of streaming. And, I did get a lot of people that would come in and watch me while I was on the server. But like if I wasn't playing on the server, they wouldn't, show up as much, which is totally fine with me. But what I found is that, I did eventually have to branch out because I knew that I wasn't going to be able to play Minecraft for the rest of my life and the rest of my streaming journey. So I kind of did have to, find ways to connect with my audience outside of streaming because, again, I am a teacher. I don't really stream as much, and my streams are like super short. I don't know if you've lurked around, I do 2 hours after work pretty much every day. And so, that doesn't lead for like a ton of time for like clips or like funny moments. So like I really, once I end the stream, I kind of have to connect in Discord, or then I tell everybody, hey, I just posted again on TikTok, go check it out. And so far it's been pretty good, but I'm excited to see where the summer takes me now that I have a little bit more time to be on the camera.
Yeah, with school out, not only is like there going to be more kids available to kind of watch Twitch and whatnot, but then I guess your schedule also opens up quite a bit on that as well. Yeah, that's an interesting kind of juxtaposition that you got with that.
Yeah, and go ahead. The summer is going to be interesting because I feel like I'm either going to get a ton more people coming that are younger, or things are opening back up. I honestly am kind of preparing myself for like a drop in viewership, in the sense that like, now that we have summer here and school break is out, we've been on the computers all year. I know that some kids and students aren't going to be as active as they were during the school year, but I don't know. I think that it's just been a really long year. A lot of it has been focused on technology. So I know that over the summer I may, people are going to be doing summer things, right? They're not always going to be at their computer, especially during the day when I'm still probably going to stream during the day. So
Yeah. And so on that note, what got you into streaming?
So, to elaborate more on the teaching thing is when the pandemic hit and we transferred to hybrid learning, like remote learning, it felt like I was running kind of like a stream. Like I had my Zoom chat that I was, reading and answering questions about like the lesson as I was going through it. I was assigning work virtually. Everything was digital, no face-to-face interactions. And I basically was just like, this feels like a Twitch stream that I'm just doing for educational purposes. So I was like, what would I, I've been watching Twitch since the early days. So I was like, if this is kind of what it's like, I think I could do it, because I was always worried that I wouldn't be entertaining or I wouldn't even be good at it. So I was like, what, I'm going to give it a try. And my first stream was actually on my laptop, and I played I played browser games for like 2 weeks until I actually had my computer built. So hybrid teaching and remote learning is what actually got me into streaming, because I really enjoyed it, interacting with the students in a virtual setting.
Yeah, I can see how that kind of goes together with it. I think a lot of streamers started pulling up during the pandemic because a lot of people, went indoors. A lot of people started watching more YouTube, more TikTok, more Twitch. And there was a lot of streamers that was kind of born during this time period. And I'm curious to see kind of how, as a whole, the platform grows from it, because you have so many more creative minds coming into the environment, creating new platforms and new communities in that.
Yeah, I think that this year there's been a ton of new creators. Like everybody has more time on their hands this year than ever before. At least, maybe not everybody, but I think that, a lot of people started it. I don't know how many are going to stick with it though. Mm-hmm. I do think a lot of people started this year. But there's so many people doing it now, and that can be super discouraging, especially if you have like low number weeks or like long periods of time where you don't grow or you're kind of stagnant. Mm-hmm. And so I do think that there is going to be maybe a slightly, a drop off of both viewers and streamers as things open up and as the summer happens. I know that, throughout history of Twitch, viewers are always higher during the winter just because you have mm-hmm. less access to things outside. So I'm curious to see now during this summer. I think the viewership might even, this might be the lowest summer viewership because this is where everything is opening up, and not just in America, right? Internationally, we can travel like mm-hmm. London as of like a few days ago. So I do think that there's going to be a lot of people that either fall off or just take like a really extended break, or maybe, not as consistent as they normally are.
Yep. And equally, it is we were even talking about this before the stream here on the pre-talk. It's a lot of work. There's a lot of moving parts to everything that you do while streaming, and that can be both discouraging for some people to do consistently over time, because if you're spending a lot of time setting up your stream, you're less likely to want to start a stream. You know what I'm saying? You want as much automation as you possibly can so that you can just push a button, sit down, stream. Otherwise, you can end up getting into that demotivation side of things of like, well, I gotta set up all of these things just to stream. Because that was one of the things that was hindering me early on in like making YouTube content. Because I started on YouTube making stuff, and then have transitioned into streaming. And I would find myself like having to fiddle with my camera constantly. Like I'd have to spend maybe 45 minutes before I could ever just like hit record. And that was discouraging me from doing streaming in general. So luckily I'm getting to where I can kind of like just hit a button and go.
Yeah, I'm still dealing with that problem that you are. Every day I start a stream, something goes wrong, right? And some of the things I can fix on stream, some of the things you can't. Like, if your bit rate's too low or something like an OBS setting, and then if that affects the quality of your stream, you have like a few options, right? You can either tough through it, you can try to fix it. And fixing something on stream is very stressful because, people join into your stream being like, okay, this is a show. They know what they're doing. Like at the very least, they should be able to hear you, see you. And I've had streams where like I tried to play a game that I thought was going to run. And then next thing I know, everybody in chat's being like, yeah, it's crashing. Like you got to figure something out, and it's embarrassing. You know what I mean? Because you're like, I teach technology and computer science, and people always throw that in my face. They're like, shouldn't you know this? And I was like, I started this year. This is like a brand new skill for me. This is something I've never done before. So I'm trying to get more automated right now. I still lug this like flamingo up my stairs every time I stream because I don't know why. I need to make it a little bit more easier for myself. One of the things I did do was buy like a number pad for myself for like $2, and that's like my stream deck right now, because until I can afford a new one, you have to be able to I used to change my scenes manually in OBS just by clicking them, and I didn't even know that I could bind them to like an actual key binding on my keyboard. So those are the things that, those little things that each one you stack on, like, oh, a transition, now you have your scene switching, now you have like, an overlay. As you stack them on, it gets a little bit easier, but it's so easy to get tripped up when you are working on those things, and then once something goes wrong, you get discouraged. So not to ramble on, but yeah, I really agree with that statement. Like,
and speaking on that, I highly suggest the Stream Deck because I'm able to set literally a on-off button for my stream, and when I push it, it immediately goes to starting soon. It goes to my snaz and turns on my 5-minute timer so that it sits there and ticks on. After 5 minutes, and it sits there, it waits for 5 minutes, and then it immediately swaps to the intro, waits 22 seconds, and then swaps to wherever I'm wanting it to be, whether it's Brimthen's Babbles or my game or, Big Me, where it's just me on the screen. And just to have that one button that does all of that, and all I got to do is wait for it to get it done, is so helpful. And then it's a multi-switch, so after it's done doing that, it swaps to a new button, which is end stream, and it does everything going to my outro, going to my end screen, waiting, and then turning off my stream. All of that all at one time in one button. And that is such peace of mind.
Yeah, that's like the epitome of like, do your research, set things up the right way, do things right the first time so you won't have to redo them. Because, that would be, again, super helpful for any creator, no matter what your size is, because I mean, if I had to do your intro, which was amazing, by the way, I loved watching that. It would be like 20 different button clicks for me, just like in OBS. And, the less you have to manage, the more you can interact with your community, interact with, like you can interact with the guests very easily because you have everything automated. And, if you're doing a regular stream, you can talk to chat much easier and actually focus on the game. I find myself sometimes doing very badly at games that I'm normally really good at, because not only am I trying to balance chat, I'm also trying to balance like, okay, am I on the right scene? Is anything going wrong with what is happening right now on my stream? And could I have automated something better before this has happened? Like, I see people with stream decks have like they'll literally tweet from a button like they're going live, and then it also changes their name on Twitter to live now, and then when they end the stream, they change their username on Twitter back at a push of a button. And I just thought that was so cool, because like, if you're just scrolling through Twitter and you're like, oh, this person's live right now because I see that in their title, just it gives you a lot more options to bring people in your stream, and gives a lot more opportunities for you to be successful and kind of grow, as opposed to just, doing not the bare minimum, but like kind of, you are not setting yourself up as successfully as you could be.
Yeah. One of the things that I personally don't like putting I'm going live on Twitter, because people get notifications, but they might not get that notification until like 2 days from now. And I'm super worried about confusing people like that. So I leave mine to just Discord announcements and just, that's it.
Yeah. I just tweet random things mostly, but I do a going live tweet every once in a while.
Yeah.
The worst part is when people make going live TikToks, because that video can get circulated for months. Like, that video is not going away anytime soon, especially if it's getting traction and people are commenting on it. So I see people make that mistake all the time. We're like going live at 8 o'clock tonight. I'm like, I saw this was 3 weeks ago. I am scrolling past this. Yeah. You have lost my interest. No offense, they could be an amazing creator, but it's way past that. I don't care that you played Minecraft 3 weeks ago. Like, that's great, but you really want to make those announcements like in your Discord or other places, because TikTok's really to get people into your content, not to tell people when you are producing content.
Yeah, or at least produce a date. Like, I'm going live 8 p.m. June 12th, you know?
Yes. Yeah. I'm doing a subathon, you know what I mean? I didn't even make a subathon TikTok. I should have. But like, I'm doing a subathon on this day at this time, you know, like a week in advance, because then at least if it does blow up, you have a really good chance of people coming through. And if not, you know, whatever, worst case scenario, people comment, this happened a long time ago.
Yep. And speaking on the subathon, how well did that go? I noticed when we first loaded up here with the camera, I saw this paper in the background, and it was like a bunch of names. So, and I caught you at the start and basically at the end, because I ended up watching a movie with my family, and it looked like you were going really strong. Everything was going good.
Yeah, I don't know how people do long subathons like without breaks. Like I didn't sleep, which I probably should have at some point, but I also didn't like have any mods that were awake, so I didn't want somebody to just come in. But it went really well. We had a lot of support at the beginning. Obviously, you know, people were still awake. We had a few people that hung out the entire night, which was crazy for me. We had a pretty high viewer count the whole time. Chat was a little dead at times, understandably, at like 4 a.m. Not too many people are popping in. But yeah, we had some people hang out. I know that some people tabbed me up like the whole night and they weren't really there, which is totally fine, and I appreciate that support. But the subathon went well. We hit a bunch of community goals, and I really just didn't expect that level of support for somebody that streams, you know, I stream 8 hours a week, which sounds kind of like a lot. If you look at other streamer schedules, it is nothing close. People do like 4-hour streams, you know, 3 days a week and stuff like that. So I was really self-conscious that I would be sitting there by myself all night, like in it, you know what I mean? Just like trying to entertain myself without falling asleep. But it went really well, and I'm definitely going to do another one at some point. Not anytime soon. I'm going to need a break after this.
Yeah, I totally understand. So I haven't done a subathon just yet, mostly because when I hit affiliate and had my 50 and everything, I did a 24-hour live stream, and I think I averaged like 10-12 viewers during it through the whole thing. And I know that exact experience that you were talking about. There were some people that like started and they stayed the whole way through, like they were dedicated to that stream. Sadly, I ended at like the 18-hour mark or something. I couldn't keep going the whole way, mostly because I didn't sleep properly for it. I should have really planned out my sleep schedule to do it, because I can usually stay up 24 hours straight, but I didn't sleep right and had a little bit of insomnia issues. But man, we had a lot of fun on ours. I want to do some more stuff like that where it's like marathon streaming and whatnot. So
I feel like people really resonate with like the goal. Like they saw the timer, they're like 2 hours left, you got this, you know what I mean? Like I feel like people really resonate with that, as opposed to like a normal stream. You're like, okay, I'm going live. It's like people can visibly see that you are, you know, reaching for a certain goal, or you know, doing a 24-hour stream. I can't believe you made it 18 hours. Seriously, at 12 I was dead. But you know, people really connect with that in the sense that you are a community and you all have a shared goal. You know what I mean? You as the streamer, your goal is to make it through it and still provide some form of entertainment. And the viewer's goal is to kind of like motivate you and keep you going. I had so many people that were like, hey Xana, like, you know, grab some water, like make sure you stretch, and using like the channel point rewards, like strategically, like when they would see that I would get sleepy, they would do like the trigger fire ones that make sounds, and they would like just scare the crap out of me. So I do think as a viewer, those streams are incredibly fun to interact with, because they're a lot more, I mean, they're just like a lot more hyped up than like an average stream. Like, oh, I'm going to go live and play Warzone for, you know, 4 hours, like come hang out, as opposed to like, I'm going to play these 4 games in a period of 12 hours. These are all the challenges. Each sub adds a certain amount of time. And even if you're not doing a subathon, like you did the 24-hour stream, you know, just seeing that time limit like really makes people incentivized to stick around, because they're like, are they going to make it, and what can I do to help? Or, you know, maybe sometimes like, hey, I want to catch this guy falling asleep and clip it.
One of the things that I did with mine was I had like segments that I had planned out. So like we did 2 or 3 Brimthen's Babbles podcasts. We had like, you know, a retro gaming segment, and then I had planned a cooking with Brimthen like type thing. But that didn't pan out because I got too tired and didn't really feel comfortable messing with like all of that. But one of the things I was doing was like every sub or every like major donation, I had like party poppers and like little spinning things, like, you know, some basic party supplies from Walmart type deal. And what I found was so funny was some of the people that were consistently sticking through the whole thing would like fall asleep while lurking, and then I would just do this air horn big blast and it would wake them up and they would be like, what was that? Like, what's going on?
Like, blast them awake, like, hey, we're still here. I think that's one thing I should have done way better is like I didn't plan out anything. The only thing I planned out was like the community challenges, like what happens when we reach certain goals. I just kind of told people like, hey, these are the games I'm going to be playing. I should have done so much more with like, planning out the games at what time so that people could like prepare. Because there was times where like, oh, could I play? And I'm like, actually, I'm switching right now. You know what I mean? Like I was very willy-nilly with what I was doing at certain times. So I do think that what you did was great. Like, having a set plan, having different types of content, right? So like I normally do games, so I probably should have done something, besides that. But I think the more you plan it out, the more fun the viewer's going to have. And I'm not saying I did a bad job. I'm just saying that I think I only wonder what could have happened. And I probably would have been a lot more awake and more entertained if I had planned out certain segments and done certain, like incentives for other things that were more like in real life. So
yeah. And
definitely next time. Sure.
And where mine was a celebration, I took a big pickle jar and put all the confetti in it and put like all the stuff as like a keepsake for when I became affiliate type deal.
Oh,
it was awesome. And pretty much all of my super loyal fans were there, so it was a big note. And that was the other reason why I ended it early was not everybody was going to be able to stay through the whole thing. And at the 18-hour mark, like the 12 major loyal fans that's been there through getting up to affiliate was there. So I wanted to make it special. And instead of reaching a goal and losing out on that, I did the big finale with them.
Yeah.
Because I had planned a big finale with multiple pottery poppers and junk like that.
I think that would be better than, just being like, okay, bye guy, but have a great night, go to bed. And then like you sit there for 4 more hours and then be like, okay, now we're going to do this spiel. So I think being adapting like that made it a lot more enjoyable for them and made it them feel, more included into the event.
And I had got one of these party poppers that looked like a golden champagne bottle and had glitter all over it. And I was super worried about glitter. Like, I was dedicated to it. I was gonna do it regardless of the mess, but it ended up being little like reflective discs, and I was super happy it wasn't glitter.
It's all fun and games till it gets sucked up into your computer.
Yeah.
Like the fans go.
Dude, I had a carpet of confetti. Like the cleanup was insane. I'm still finding little bits of confetti.
I still have the names written on my arm. They're fading, but I need to really wipe those off. I didn't do it in Sharpie, luckily. It's Expo, though, so it's going to take a little bit of scrubbing.
Yeah. So let's start talking on the retro game thing, because you brought it up, and I see a old 64 behind you there.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about your retro stuff.
So this was like the console that I like grew up on, was the N64. Playing every like Super Mario 64, Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, like all like the major titles, Pokemon Stadium, Pokemon Snap, and the fact that you could Super Smash Brothers, the fact that you could play with I had 4 siblings growing up, so any console that had multiplayer was something that we were interested in because we didn't like to share. So N64 has like been my lifeblood. I play emulators still pretty consistently. Like I'm doing like an Ocarina of Time run through on my own time. I haven't streamed any retro games though, just because I've always been worried that that's not like my type of content. There's a lot of people that have retro gaming as like a part of their brand, and since I have never streamed a retro game, I'm worried that one day I'm going to turn on and be like, all right, we're playing Ocarina of Time today, and everyone's like, what is this? Because a lot of my viewer base, and I know this because I'm a teacher and make like teacher content, I know that a lot of my viewer base is young, so I know that if I do retro streams, I have to make it like enjoyable, or at least explain what's happening to these people, because they're going to be like, I have no idea what this game is, like why are we playing this pixelated mess on screen? But a lot of times it's like nostalgia, and I don't know, Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, those games hold up to this day, and I'll stand by that.
Yeah, I understand that. one of the things that I set out to do, and the reason why I started streaming, was to put people into newer topics. Like, try something new. You never know what you're going to expect or what you're going to get out of it. So I do, I don't like to use the term variety streamer type deal, but generally it sticks with what I'm doing, because I do podcasts, I do retro games, I do modern games, I do everything basically. Cooking streams, hobby streams, painting streams, you name it pretty much. And but my goal is to always like push people to leave their comfort zones. There's more than just Fortnite out there. And there's a lot of old games that could still stand the test of time. You just have to try it. Like, you go back and play Twisted Metal 3. There's nothing quite like Twisted Metal games out there. Like, I showed my nephew it, and he loved it. He wants a remake. He wants like them to come out with a new version of it.
I do too.
and that's where it kind of started. Like, I ran my 16-year-old nephew through Mortal Kombat 2, through Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like old NES game, like through Dark Souls, for example, and through that. And then for people that have like a specific interest, for example, my buddy Nance that's in here was on the last podcast. He's big into Warhammer. He loves Skaven. He loves everything to do with the Ratman. So me and him did a co-stream where we played Shadow of the Horned Rat and just deep dived into Skaven stuff and reading old lore from PlayStation 1. And that's kind of like what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to show people, the other things. Like you were saying in the pre-show, for a lot of people, this is their first time coming onto a podcast. I want to find that. That's what I want. I want those new people. I want to show you Dungeons and Dragons. I want to show you Magic the Gathering. I want to show you painting, clay, pottery, photography. I want to show the world everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think that what you're doing is amazing, because I think not that these people, being exposed to games like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mortal Kombat, if no one was showing them and being like incentivized and be like, hey, this actually is a really good game and here's how you play it, or I have it, they would never find it. If today, in today's world, if I had a son or, a daughter, I'd be like, you need to play like Super Mario 64. Like, this game changed the world. Like, I don't know how to explain it to you. And I think they genuinely would have a good time with it, because that game is one of those games that holds up. The controls are still good. But if no one showed them that, like, they're never gonna. No one that's under the age of 18 or even like 22 is gonna be like, you know what? I feel like emulating, this old game that I've never played before. Like, no one's doing that. You need somebody to introduce you to it. Just like Magic the Gathering. I played Magic and D&D my whole life. If no one was like, hey, here's how you play and here's a deck to use, I would have never gotten into it. I'm not just going to go into a card shop one day and be like, okay, here's, $100. I want to buy all these packs, and then I'm going to set up a deck. You have no idea what's going on. It's like an introduction. And it's cool that you are that introducer, right? You're going to spark so many interests. Maybe you introduce somebody to Mortal Kombat and they're like, I love fighting games. And then now they're down this rabbit hole of old fighting games, new fighting games. I just think that is really awesome.
Yeah, I want to be multiple entrances to many different rabbit holes so that they can pick where they want to go. And that's what I designed my Discord to also be, because like when I was growing up, younger than high school days, I didn't have too terribly many friends, and I ended up getting homeschooled for a little while, and I didn't really have that outlet to like expand my hobbies, so to speak. And what I want to do is provide a space for that kid that's gotten into Warhammer, but nobody plays Warhammer. Nobody hardly plays 40K. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of time, that kind of deal. And here's this kid. He wants to meet more people, but he can't in his local area. But he found my Discord, so he's able to talk about it, talk about lore, talk about hobbies, and like, kind of fellowship around this topic that he has. And meeting these other people brings him out possibly to Magic the Gathering, Dungeons and Dragons, where he finds more of a community, possibly in his local area, and that kind of thing. It's that connection point, because one hobby can lead to another hobby, and that hobby can lead to other people that knew your original hobby. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I don't think I would be playing Dungeons and Dragons now if it wasn't for playing like certain types of video games in general. But
Exactly.
I also think you do a really good job of not putting all of your eggs in one basket, right? You're not like all about the podcast, which I think you do an amazing job with, you know what I mean? But you have other things to offer the viewer. Not everybody's going to be like, hey, I want to listen to two creators, talk about it. Some people just want to go into a Discord and find people that have certain interests with them. And I think you do a really good job of spreading out those interests, right? You play retro games, you play new games. We were talking about this in the preschool. You have so many different points of entry in your Discord that, a lot of people will find a home there, as opposed to I join a Discord and there's Call of Duty, Apex Legends, the big 3 battle royales, and then maybe like Pokemon, but so you have so many different options, and you just have channels that people are allowed to talk about different things. I think that is very important, to not narrow down your focus, and not just in your Discord, but your content as well. But so many Discords that I'm in, they have like 7 games that you can talk to, in the game chat, and then the general chat's mostly, random stuff that's going on in people's lives. But they don't really have any like hobbyist stuff, or even, just different options besides like the newer games that people are coming out and playing with each other.
Yep. And that process, like if I had never learned Magic, I would have never learned Dungeons and Dragons, because I would have never met the people that introduced me to Dungeons and Dragons. Those people that I learned Dungeons and Dragons from introduced me to Warhammer. I would have never learned Warhammer if I never started Magic. And that's what I want to be, is that conduit.
Is Magic the Gathering is a slippery slope. Once you learn that, you can do anything.
Yeah.
I had a similar experience. I played Magic when I was in like the Boy Scouts. Whenever we go on like trips, and we'd be bored in the woods, we would just play Magic the Gathering. That's where I learned. Then later on, I started to play Pathfinder first, actually. D&D was not the first tabletop RPG I played. I don't know why. But, those are the same people that introduced me to D&D. We played. And then once I learned, I was able to DM and run campaigns. And then, look, now I have 4 or 5 people that also know how to play D&D. Kind of. I'm not that great at teaching. But then, one of those people may get really into it, and they have. And now they're running their own game without me, which I'm a little bit salty about. But, I couldn't join because of the timing. But they are blessed. You teach one person, they teach another person, and it is like a domino effect.
Oh yeah. And that's also kind of what the podcast is, because a lot of networking is building friendships, building each other up, not just like a lot of people on TikTok and think networking is, I'll pull this one person, then boom, I'm gonna explode and get all these views and everything. And that's not how it is. You've got to build a relationship with people. You've got to both be invested in their growth as well as your own growth. And take Mr. Dumpling for example. He came onto the podcast. We never really known each other. We sat down, we talked about stuff on the podcast, built up this kind of relationship, and now we're like co-streaming Dark Souls, co-streaming, Minecraft stuff, just doing stuff back and forth constantly, and hitting affiliate with him and going through kind of his history on Twitch has been exciting as well.
I think, it's authentic, right? You know what I mean? You had him on the podcast. You guys hit it off. You guys stayed in connection, and then planned like events to do. And that's authentic support. And I've seen both authentic and then inauthentic, right? So like on TikTok, there's like this whole thing where people just post links all over videos. They just post their Twitch links everywhere for some reason. I have no idea why. But like you were saying, a lot of people out there want the quickest way to grow. And what a lot of people think is, here's a creator that's a little bit bigger than me, right? How do I network this relationship so that I get some of what they have? Like we co-stream and then they shout me out and so I get a few follows and maybe someone turns on my stream too. I think that I've had people reach out to me and I could very tell it was inauthentic. Someone that's never been in my chat before. I've never talked to them. I don't follow them on any social media. They just saw my numbers one day. Maybe they were high, and then they sent me a Discord message and joined the Discord. And they're like, hey, let's do this together. And I'm like, we have never talked. I have no idea who you are. I have no idea what your content is. Like, if I'm going to bring you on and we're going to do stuff together, I need to know you a little bit. And I don't want this to be like a parasocial relationship, right? Like, exactly. I don't want to feel like I have to support you because you're supporting me by like coming to my stream. I don't know. There are a lot of people that are trying, not like leech off of people, but like they want the easiest way to grow. And what sometimes that easiest way to grow is they're expecting like a raid or, you know, a co-stream or just like a host from like a creator that's bigger than themselves. And, you know, that I'm happy to do that with people that have come to my streams, that knows what's going on, that knows my type of content, because I'm a family friendly streamer. Like I don't know if I brought this up yet. I don't swear. I swore twice in 12 hours last night. So I have to be really careful about who I do collaborate with, and that they understand like the expectations of my stream. And a lot of times people have no idea what I'm about before they send me that message. So I do think that's awesome that you were able to make that connection in like an authentic way. And there are a lot of people that are trying to make those authentic connections, but for every one person that is authentic, you get like 10 that are just, you know, trying to do the easiest way possible to grow.
And it's funny to me because, you know, you do hear of the rare moment where somebody like just turns on the stream and boom, millions of views on TikTok, pulls over Twitch. You know, there are big success stories that's out there that happen within, you know, weeks of each other. But if you ask the staple YouTubers and Twitch users that have been at it for years, you know, when did you get big? Well, I only got big in the last like 8 months or so, but you know, I've been at it for 6 years. You know, like a lot of success is building slowly over time to that level that you need to be and accumulating fans over that time. Because what I've determined is, because I'm in a slight rare kind of situation. You know, I've only got like 140 or less followers on Twitch, but I pull an average of 10 to 14 viewers usually, and the you know, that's not normal. You know?
Yeah, no, it really isn't.
It's about building that relationship with as many people as you can in your community, because they'll show you that support once you build that relationship with them. Like, I have a genuine friendship with a large portion of the people that stick around in my chat. And we go back and forth, and that creates that kind of level of wholesomeness that I'm kind of wanting from mine. Because I'm also a family-friendly streamer. I try my best not to cuss at all on a stream, keep everything not excessive. And that's my big thing, is like excessive. Like, it's okay if it happens once or there's a slip or there's something like that, but like, it's, you know, distasteful if it's constant. You know what I mean?
Some people make it like part of their whole personality on stream, which I find it does. It sometimes it like XQC and people like that. You're like, I feel like that person genuinely acts like that off stream. That's just the way that they are. But like other people, I'm like, this is definitely an act. But the fact that you're able to pull those numbers with, you know, that just means you are retaining your audience really well. And, you know, just like you said, it's a marathon, not a sprint. You know, if you grew too fast, right? If your average viewer count was going so fast that like you couldn't even keep up with like who's in your chat on what days, like, you know, certain viewers, it's hard. People aren't going to want to come to your streams if there's not like a sense of, you know, belonging, or at least a sense of like community, if that makes sense. Like, if you're growing so fast where, you know, each time you stream, you have 10 new people that are watching you. Are you making genuine connections, or are you now like, are those just like your fans, you know, instead of like a genuine community? And I'd rather have the latter. I'd rather grow slower and be able to, you know people's names, know what they're about, know a little bit of facts about them, you know, be friends, talk in the Discord on the days that we're not streaming, than to have, you know, 10 new followers every stream, and those people, you know, may check me out, may not. I think that retaining your audience is something that you do a really good job with, and engaging them off of the platform. And I think that, you know, it's hard to engage your audience and retain that if you're growing incredibly fast. And I've seen people on TikTok do this, where they Twitch stream and they have like 3 videos blow up. They went from like 5 average viewers to like 45 in like a night, and then their numbers will drop in a week because those people have no incentive to stay. They weren't there from the beginning, and they don't want to stay there for the end. You know, it's like that middle period where they're like, they wanted to jump on a wave because of support, and then now that the wave has kind of died, they're like, I'm gonna be out. So I've seen it. I'd rather do the slow and steady wins the race.
Yep, that's kind of what I'm going for. You know, we all want the same kind of ordeal. You know, we want a good fellowship, we want a good community, we want to show love to other people, we want to show opportunities to other people. And, you know, at the end of the day, we just want to entertain people and make them happy, you know. And for me, and I know this is the everybody, every streamer kind of thing, like, as long as I know that I've made one person happy and gave them something to watch and enjoy, I'm happy with that stream. But I take that to literally to its specific core. Like, as long as I know I have entertained somebody for that stream, it was a successful stream.
I mean, it sounds corny, but like, it only sounds corny until a viewer says like, hey, I really enjoy this. Like, you know, like, this is a fun part of my day. And, you know, every time that I've had somebody say that to me before. They're like, hey, Zanadood, like, your streams do really make me feel good. You're always so positive and like wholesome. And even on the days where you're not as positive, you know, it's still something fun that I get to do almost every day. And to hear that, I'm like, you know what? I don't care what my average viewer count that day was. Like, somebody just said that they turned on their computer just to watch my face. Like, that's a thing. Okay. You know, I'll take that. Right. When I started streaming, I was like, I told my wife, because my wife has no idea what Twitch is. I had to explain it to her. She doesn't know what Discord is. Like, a lot of these things we've had to learn as we go here. But she was like, people are going to watch you play a video game. She's like, why would they do that? And I'm like, because it's the engagement. It's, you know, sometimes not everybody has every video game, but a lot of the times people are looking for that connection, and, you know, smaller streamers can give them that connection, and as long as you can retain it and then provide, you know, entertainment, it makes it all worth it. I was rambling on there for a second, but it does really make it all worth it. All like the hard days and all the work that you have to put in to go live and schedule your life around it. All it takes is one viewer to be like, hey, this really made my day. And then I'm like, okay, you made my day.
And that's exactly it. And I got to have that moment with my affiliate stream that I did, because like, that was the kind of the apex of everything. Like, I wanted that, you know, close-knit community. I wanted to show them and celebrate with them and fellowship with them and have a moment kind of together. And we had that moment. And I even said at the end of that stream, like, even if everything falls apart, everything goes away, and this completely is for nothing, this was the moment that I had wanted for this whole entire experience, and I'm so glad to have had it. It might as well have been, you know, hitting 1 million subscribers or whatever, something kind of stream for me, because I had that big feeling. Everybody there was super hyped and ecstatic to become affiliate together. And we genuinely celebrated for it. So, like, at this point, like, I have done what I needed to do. The rest is just to entertain people.
Yeah. And those are the moments that you start streaming, you know, like when you hit affiliate, you know, hopefully eventually years down the line, maybe we can talk about partner. But I mean, I wish I had the same experience as you, because my own affiliate experience, I was on TikTok first before Twitch. So I was posting content there, and I was like, okay, let's, you know, get people to switch over. I could maybe name 2 people from my affiliate streams, or like my first streams, that have stayed out through my community. A lot of the people that are my consistent like viewer base right now is within the last 3 or 4 months, and I've been streaming for like 6 or 7 at this point. So like those first 2 or 3 months, like I could name 5 maybe off the top of my head. Those are the people that stuck with me out of 50, right? So I did not do a very good job of retaining my audience, or maybe it was just, you know, not the type of thing that they had signed up for. But my affiliate stream, and like on my way to affiliate, was like very unhyped, to the point where, you know, when I hit it, I was like, okay, cool, yeah, what's next? And I should have spent a lot more time thinking about, like, this was a big deal for me. Like, you know, there's a lot of people that stream and never hit affiliate. You know, if you have a higher than 3 view count on Twitch, you're like you're in the top percentages. Like, there's millions of people who stream on Twitch to absolutely nobody. So it is a huge accomplishment, and people really kind of downplay that. And I downplayed it myself. I was worried about the numbers. I was like, 3, come on, I could do better than that. You know, that has been the biggest thing for me, is just not caring about the numbers as much. But it's hard when all you do is follow streamers on Twitch and TikTok and Twitter, and all, you know, the numbers are just such a huge part of the game. The path to partner, you have to have that 75 average. People post their stream summaries like on Twitter. People do the stream summaries on TikTok where you're like, oh, this person just had, you know, 45 average viewers, and what are they doing right that I'm doing wrong? And that's not it. They could be, you don't see what's happening out of the scenes. And I really always have to remember that, because I got really discouraged after I hit affiliate. I had plateaued. Like, I was getting no one new in. So I wish I made it a much more hyped up celebration like you had done.
Well, that's the other thing, is you don't want to compare yourself to others. That's only going to lead you up to expectations and, falling short from other people's success. And at the end of the day, like, you can be successful and not be at that same level as somebody else. There's always going to be that higher level person. You take and start learning to play the guitar. There's always going to be some dude that can just shred way better than you. Like, unless you're just like a world record holding, one of a kind out of the whole entire planet, like, there's always somebody that's going to be a little bit different on it. But you can still be extremely successful playing the guitar, And that's the same thing in streaming. When I was hitting that 3 viewers, I was like, yo, hey, how you guys doing? Like, y'all are here. What up? I was excited. I was hyped to have 3. And I'm hyped every day to just see one person in the stream. Like, because I recognize it also can go away at any point. Like, your hype can die down. Your community can start to kind of mellow out and get tired. And, that's one of the biggest fears when you hit affiliate is, was that the cap? Is it going to fall off after getting affiliate? And a lot of people actually do experience that. They do this big build up to affiliate. Their community is really strong and really hyped to hit that milestone cap. But once it hits it, people start to kind of drop off because now there's nothing to work for,
Yeah, they've already done their part. They're like, yay, we got there, and then now the streamer's working towards their next goals, and the viewer had a different interpretation of what they wanted to be there for, and I totally get that.
Yeah.
I saw this thing on Twitter the other day where it's just like, what is success to you as a streamer? And there was a lot of arguments in the comments, because a lot of people were saying, like, success is when I hit this amount of average views, this amount of subs, this amount of, I make partner, I do this, I work with this company. And I literally commented on that thread, and I was like, success to me as a streamer is the fact that people turn on their phones or computers and pull up my stream to talk to me, to hang out, interact with what I'm doing. That is success. I've successfully gotten people to come to this thing that is hard enough to do. People are busy. So I think it's really important not to, judge yourself with others, but it's also really important to, like, what is successful to you? My success is different than your success. It's different than, Shroud's success. Like, everybody's going to have different numbers that they want to hit. Everybody's going to want to have different things. And the more that I've made my success based not around numbers of average view count, average followers, average subs and stuff like that, and more around, like, what do I want my community to be like talking about, or what do I want my community to be like doing? That's when I started to really hit my stride and not overthink everything. One of my big goals of being a successful streamer was to have an active Discord, or to, have people in there talking, not always facilitated by me. When I first started, I had to start every conversation. Like, no one would post, That's one of the hardest things I've had to do. But now people post in it. And for me, that's a success. Not my final success, but, one thing that I had to work towards to reach the end goal.
And that is an awesome stride to go towards, and a great thing. And that is a perfect example of success right there, in my opinion. For me, and everybody's going to be different on the topic. For me, it is the one message that will probably resonate with me for the rest of my life. And I'm not going to say any names, but they know who they are. Sent me a message after one of my streams and was just like, you have really helped me today. Like, I've been chronically depressed recently and not very motivated, and just listening to you talk about, striving and pushing forward. Because it was one of the streams where I was talking about motivation and trying new things. And, you've heard me throughout this podcast, like, the same stuff. And they were like, I'm going to go out and I'm going to go meet some people in one of my hobbies. And I'm going to see what happens. I'm going to take your advice. And for me, that is, I will always be successful because I had that one moment.
Yeah. There's one person that took your message and was like, I can apply this to my own life to make my own life better. And boom, you can retire now. No, but I do think that's a great message to send to people. Like, try new things. Don't be afraid. And I can tell by your content that is the kind of community and the kind of mindset that you're fostering. Be yourself unapologetically. Like, there's a lot of people that wouldn't do what you're doing. They wouldn't spread out their content in a way that, like, talk show, different types of games, everybody on TikTok, everybody that's in streaming is like, you need to niche down. You need to pick one game, you need to stream it, you need to make content around it, because that's how people are going to come into your streams and stay. And I don't think that's true. I think people are going to resonate more with your message, your community, and just really what you're offering to them as a streamer. And that's not always about high level gameplay and, the same type of content. Sometimes it's just words of wisdom, a positive attitude, and someone that they can zone out and watch and, get some interactions with. So I just think you're doing a really good job.
And I've seen all of those guides. Everybody's like, no, don't niche, don't do that. That's the worst thing. And, at the end of the day, they are slightly, right on it. Going a niche lets you build up people from that community and pull that direction. But then you're stuck. Like, you see all these big streamers that like pull thousands of viewers for that particular game. But if they swap over to another game, they cut in half to a fourth sometimes. They lose like their whole following just swapping games. And if you build your content around, being inspiring to play different stuff and be into different things, when you swap games, you're swapping games every time. So you're not going to lose anybody off of that.
Yeah. You ever see Tim the Tatman when he streams something besides Call of Duty Warzone? He gets like a fifth of what he normally does. You know what I mean? Like, people are going to his streams because they want to watch him play it, and I totally get that. Yeah. But I niched myself down when I first started, and I had to unniche, and that was very hard to do. I only played Minecraft. I only made content really around Minecraft and streaming on TikTok. And there were certain days where I was like, I do not want to play this game today. Like, I am so burnt out. I'm not good at the game. Everybody in chat knows more than I do. It's not even a game I love the game and I'm pretty passionate about it, but I'm not passionate about it to play it every single stream. Like, I had to unniche myself, and I found, I'm still kind of not recovering, but like, my average view count has gone down since I started streaming. My average view count was higher in December and January than it is now, because I am not shedding the dead weight in a sense, but there are people that were only here for that type of content, and they weren't really here for the message that I'm making or the other games that I like to play and that I am passionate about. They were just there because they love Minecraft, and that's fine. There are so many streamers that only play Minecraft. That just wasn't the community that I wanted to start. Mm-hmm. And I kind of dug myself into a hole, and I had to dig myself a little bit out.
Yeah, and I understand that. And that comes with, because I'm assuming most of it is from TikTok and pulling people from TikTok. Minecraft is such a vibrant TikTok too. Like, if you put a Minecraft video on there, it's very likely to do pretty good. And then you pull people to watch Minecraft. The niche always kind of bugged me. And when I first started, and basically restarted to make higher quality content, I wanted to focus on retro games because I wanted to cast this wide net, because people that are my age are now getting to be adults. They're coming home from work. And particularly with my railroad background, might not be able to play games. They're just trying to wind down to go to sleep, to go back to work again. So they might want to watch somebody play something, and then, you're at work and you're reminiscing about the past, about the games you used to play on your PlayStation or whatever, Nintendo. And then when you get home, you're like, I'm just going to look up somebody. And I wanted to try to put myself like on that games category, like at the top somewhere with a fairly higher quality than what's there. Because if you go look at like Warhammer Shadow the Horned Rat for PlayStation 1, the like top 4 results is not great.
Yeah.
So I wanted to create a kind of higher quality kind of let's play style for games that don't ever really get to see that.
And you have to think about it. When people find you and you're doing that, there's not a lot of other people that are, a lot of people who do the retro game thing, they speed run the same retro game over and over and over again, or the same types of games. No one's like a retro game. I mean, there are, but there's not many people that's like a retro game connoisseur where they're like, let's play Conker's Bad Fur Day today, and then, let's go do this other thing. So I do think when somebody finds you from that and they're like, hey, I used to love this game, and then they're not going to unfollow once you switch to another game, and they're not going to leave your stream because there's a famous streamer who's doing the exact same thing as you do, and it's more exciting, right? An issue that and I didn't know this when I first started streaming, every Minecraft streamer has an issue that if they stream during the times that the big Minecraft streamers go, their viewer count is down. You could be, having 20 people in your chat watching you play Minecraft, but then Tommy in it goes live, and you just lost half your viewer count because they're like, I'm committed to this community because it's so big and has been so consistent over the years that, someone coming into your retro streams, they're not ditching you for someone else that's doing the same exact thing. You're doing something unique, and you're building a brand around something unique that a lot of people will resonate with. Yep.
And it's also understandable on that side, when you go back to the days of sitting and watching, Saturday morning cartoons and stuff, like when you knew, like you're watching Nickelodeon, and then your favorite Cartoon Network show, it's coming on in 5 minutes, you're gonna swap, because you're used to watching a certain thing and you're pretty dedicated to it. And it does kind of suck for the smaller streamer that happens, but that's part of having content that draws people in. I mean, it literally draws them in.
Yeah.
So, and that's what we all want to kind of strive towards, is to get that kind of draw. But
we all want to do something that sets us apart and brings people in. I mean, it's an ongoing struggle, right? I always think I'm doing something super unique and like super niche, and then I like go on TikTok, I was like, oh, that person's doing the same thing as I do, or that person has the same thing on their overlay or something like that. So I do agree, you got to set yourself apart somehow, but not too far apart either.
As they used to say, there's nothing new under the sun, but that everything can be improved.
Yes.
So anyway, that's pretty it for topics wise. My community has me ask the same question every single podcast because they want to know, do you watch anime?
I do. I have a tattoo of anime on my leg. Full Metal Alchemist, brother.
Full Metal Alchemist.
Yes, I have
give some claps for that.
I have the Ouroboros, so like the never-ending snake. I have that tattooed on my thigh. Got that when I was 18.
So assuming a tattoo means that's your favorite anime?
It is, very wholeheartedly. I just finished Attack on Titan like 2 days ago. It took me a while, but we made it.
It's a good show.
Spoiler free, by the way. I don't know how I managed to dodge them all, but I'm not in a lot of like anime discourse. I think the one time that I got anime recommendations was in your Discord server. I was like, guys, I need something new to watch.
Roka. You gotta watch Roka.
Yeah. And I got some good recommendations. Some of them I was like, I don't think this one's for me. But I enjoy anime a lot, and I think there's a huge community around it too. Like you think Twitch streaming, the anime community is even bigger because it's all offline. Like, I don't know. It's all offline, and people just resonate so much with different characters and different shows, and you can have a whole community based around one show that I think is really, really special. And it's a lot more widespread now. I don't know about you growing up, but I used to watch Naruto and stuff like that on Toonami and Adult Swim, and that wasn't super common. Like, I didn't talk about the anime that we watched last night at school the next day. No one was really talking about anime. If you did watch it, you may knew one other person that did, but now it's like everybody and their best friend is into anime, which is, amazing to see, honestly.
So what was interesting for me in my high school experience was, so I was a huge dedicated goth. I was very much a goth kid. Trip pants, band t-shirt, attitude, the whole 9 yards. I saw the same thing that you were talking about. Nobody talks about anime or whatever. However, there are little niche pockets of groups that do, and the goth community really liked anime, mostly because Death Note was popular at the time. And that became like my favorite show for the longest time until I, witnessed the glory that is Roka. And there's a small like joke in my Discord community that the podcast's only job is to get another season of Roka or get sponsored by the creators of Roka and Redline.
If you're determined enough, I think you can do it.
But one of my favorite conspiracy theories was that I was going to have this podcast long enough to where I could get one of the Nintendo executives to come onto the show and then just ask them the big question of, why did you guys do this to the Mario Party on the Switch?
Or why did you make the Super Mario movie? Whose idea was that? I want answers.
I need answers. So, yeah, I always suggest Roka and Redline. Redline's a movie, and I think it's free for Amazon Prime users. But it is a love letter to everything anime. It's a handmade, hand-drawn, like 300,000 frames that were hand-drawn and then digitally enhanced a little bit. And it is a beautiful movie, beautiful soundtrack, beautiful story. Everybody should try out Redline.
Well, I gotta make sure to check it out.
But yeah, I grew up with One Piece during the cartoon, debacle, Sanji with his lollipop instead of a cigarette.
Yeah.
Days. And, but no, I liked Naruto. Naruto was awesome. I have some problems with power creep. I don't know if you caught that in the last podcast or whatever. Like Dragon Ball Z stuff where people could just like blink and blow up a planet. I don't really.
By the end of it, they're just gods. Yeah. That's why I like Full Metal Alchemist, because it is kind of grounded in like the power system and like the the rules of the world kind of make sense, at least. Like I know they do change it later on, but like there are so many animes that like as they go on, you're like, okay, it's getting crazy now. When does it stop?
Yeah, and for me, Naruto ends at Pain, because Pain was the first like crazy OP pulling meteors out of the sky and raining them down. And and then Naruto won the admiration of the city after saving it from Pain. So like Naruto became, he got the support of the city. The city saw what he could possibly bring and his potential. He got rid of Pain, which is like the biggest threat that we've ever had. Like for me, it ended at Pain.
I mean, there's just so much filler after that point. Like there was filler before it, but they're like, we really got to drag this out. Like people are enjoying this. They're eating it up. What can we do to make this last as long as possible? Which I'm never fond of in anime. I like it very to the point, Yeah.
I like to see the struggle. I like to see the limitations, and that's why I like Naruto, because, like Rock Lee had all the gates and he can't go past a certain point or his body gets hurt. One Piece, Luffy literally gets beat up so much he goes into a coma for like 14 episodes. Like the main character's out for like 14 episodes. God. So I like that kind of weakness and overcoming limitations and that kind of stuff. I think that's what anime does so well, because we can't really do that with like normal movies and stuff. Like you can't just like constantly be injuring somebody. I mean, it is possible with editing and visual effects and all the stuff that we can do, but anime just kind of can pull it off a little bit better.
I think they can set up the systems, really successfully. Whether the power systems, the development between characters. I mean, in a movie, you're limited. You have a certain amount of time. You're not going to explain like all the intricacies of how Goku can do what he can do, or how I'm sorry, I'm trying to think of a different example, or like a Jujutsu Kaisen, like how that power system works. Like, I just really think that. Anime, sometimes I fault it for going too slow and putting too much filler in there, but they do give you a lot of room to understand the world, understand the limitations of the characters, and then understand like, the relationship building. Like I like certain, even in like slice of life animes, like they do such a good job of making the characters human and giving them, quirks and, just lifelike qualities that I think if they tried to do in a movie, I mean, you can't just, or even like you just can't set things up as much, and you can't obviously do as much as you can with like animation and drawing whatever you want.
Exactly. But anyway, you have anything that you would like to ask or talk about here before we wrap up?
What's your favorite? If you had to pick one like retro console to play for the rest of your life, what would you play? Only
Well,
one.
I was really hoping the PlayStation 5 was going to be that, because I was hoping that they would have it as a super omni box where it could do 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, but I don't have that world. If I had to stick with one retro system and that was all I could have from there on, I would go probably in the direction of Windows 95. Because there's so much that Windows 95 was able to do, and we really never even got the full potential out of it just yet. Because you're talking about all of the original sim games, all
like
of the
Roller Coaster Tycoon, like
Yeah.
Zoo Tycoon, all that stuff. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and Windows 95 had tons of games. You had some of the older Counter-Strikes, you had some of the newer Dooms. I wouldn't count the original Doom in the 95 area, even though you could play anything. But I would say 95 is where I would stick at. Even though it's not a console, that's,
It's a thing that runs games. I'll accept it. I'll accept it.
Because I would hate to say PlayStation 1 and then just be stuck with only those games. Because I want to be able to branch out. Because there's PlayStation 1 games that's on PC.
Yeah.
So if I say 95, then I can pull from a bunch of different resources and never get bored. Whereas I will get bored eventually with only PlayStation 1 games.
In PlayStation 1, they had a good amount of variety, but like if you were into simulation games or sport, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't remember them having that many releases for that. And I know on the computer, I was super into The Sims, Roller Coaster Tycoon, Zoo Tycoon, all those simulations and sandboxy games that started to come out. You'd be limited without those.
Now, they did have a Coaster Tycoon, and in my opinion, having played tons of Coaster Tycoons, it was the best, and it was Sim Coaster. Sim Theme Park. No, it was Sim Theme Park, or Sim Coaster, something like that. But anyway, it was made for the PlayStation 1, and it ran perfectly, and it had all the features that you would expect that you would want from a coaster game. Like, you're able to go down and pretend to be the people in the seats and run around through the coaster and have that first person perspective kind of thing. Build your own custom stuff, and all on the PlayStation 1 platform. So I really am proud of that game, and I'm excited to play it eventually when I get through to it on the Retro series.
Yeah, I didn't know that was a thing. Now I'm excited. I'd make sure to tag me when you do it, because I would love to tune into that.
And it had one of the best soundtracks too, even though I can't show the soundtrack off on stream. But
DMCA'd.
And they cracked down hard on that recently. Now they're doing it live while you're on stream.
They can do live takedowns.
I can't imagine that. Just because 3 seconds of Tetris started playing or something, streams down.
I got my first DMCA strike because I was playing Fallout, and I was listening to Fallout 76, and I was listening to Country Roads on the radio.
That'll get you quick.
You don't even think about it. You know what I mean? I'm listening to the music in the game. And then after I ended the stream, I checked, and I was like, you have one strike. I was like, well, never doing that again. It's because that specific song isn't in the public domain, the John Denver one.
Yeah. The thing that I've been doing so that I don't limit the enjoyment of the game is I just go into the game settings and set the music down to 10, and it's high enough for me to hear it and still get that experience, but it's so low that when I lower game audio in OBS, because I want it to be half of whatever my voice is, and then my own background music overlapping over top of it, it would be almost impossible to discern music in the background of my videos. Thankfully. And I haven't gotten copyright striked on it, knock on wood, just yet. So.
Fingers crossed. And then Twitch has the soundtrack or whatever, where you can set it up so that you can play music, but they won't save to your VODs. But then they didn't really have anybody set it up correctly, and then they ended up just DMCAing thousands of streamers because they're oh, we forgot to tell you that you have to set it up this way. So I'm really glad that it's just such a tricky situation in streaming, and again, better play it safe than sorry.
Yeah. And for me, that's one of the other things that I do is like, I want to make sure everything is mine or at least has been made in my name. And that's how I ended up in an art scam, because the artist that had got all that art for me, it wasn't his. And if it's not his, it's not mine. So I got to get rid of all of that. So I've been very much more careful with that. Because for me, like all my music that I play has been made by Tarkov Music, who, you know, my name's on it, his name's on it. You know, I have all the rights to play the music that I have in mine, and I strive to make sure every single ounce of my stream is made by me. Like, I don't even want to use like, you know, this like slap the sticker and plays a meme sound effect or whatever, because I'm so afraid that even if it's not right now, maybe 10 years down the line, whoever had that sound like starts pressing and getting everybody for using that sound or whatever.
Yeah, I've been using like Spotify playlists that are like DMCA approved, like Stream Beats by Harris Heller. Like that's a go-to for me. And then there is an artist called Eldre who makes like a lot of the lo-fi songs on TikTok. He's made it very clear that he will never sign. You know, and if he ever, but the problem is if he ever goes back on his word and he signs with the record company, now I have to delete half my VODs because I listen to his music all the time on stream. So he does like all the Katara, like the Legend of like Korra in Avatar: The Last Airbender lo-fi. He does like I don't know, I guess popular media. He makes it into like lo-fi songs. And again, I am at this point reliant on that man not signing any kind of record deal, because then, you know, I'm going to have to go through and spend countless hours being like, oh, here's a VOD that has that music in it, delete, and then I'll lose all that content. So I think what you're doing is great, and you're definitely future-proofing, and I don't think a lot of people are thinking about future-proofing right now. What they're doing right now might be working, but what about 3 years down the line when Twitch decides to change their mind?
And I'm future-proofing for that, because everything I put on my YouTube, I'm planning on never deleting unless it's just absolutely terrible that I have to do that, you know? Like a copyright strike or some other thing. And my YouTube is the crypt, is what I call it. And it's literally a time capsule where my goal is to keep my memories there. Because one of the things I have is a really bad long-term memory. Like short-term, I do pretty good, but like I can literally feel childhood stuff fading from me every day that I live. And I fear that eventually will get worse as I get much, much, much older. And one day, you know, say I'm too old, too tired to play video games someday, I might want to go and relive those moments that I had. And my part of that is to put it on YouTube, put it on external hard drives, and make sure everything is like as kept safe as possible for that eventual time when I get older. Of course, during this time trying to entertain people as I go and do it, but my primary focus is for memory and to go back and watch it later.
Yeah, and I think documenting that progress is really important too, because you know, Twitch doesn't save your stuff forever. You have to put it somewhere. And you know, you're gonna want to rewatch your first VOD. You're gonna want to rewatch your first YouTube upload. You're gonna want to watch how your quality has progressed over the years, especially if you're planning this for the long haul, right? Like with content creation, we talked about it's a marathon, not a sprint. Like I'm not gonna blow up in a year. I may blow up in 5 years, maybe 8 years. Who knows? But I want to see how that process has changed over time. You know, what was the point when I started to do different that made people more engaged, you know, or made more people come in? And if you're not uploading consistently, you know, if you're not uploading all that stuff, or at least have a spot to put it all, then you won't be able to make that reflection where you're like, oh, after this YouTube video, I did this thumbnail, and then, you know, this was my energy, this was the game I was playing. You know, you won't be able to self-reflect, which I think is really important in streaming. You have to reflect on what you're doing and what's working and what's not, and, you know, how you want to continue on forward.
Yep. And to piggyback on that last statement there, even if it's something that's not working though, as long as you're enjoying doing it, you may want to keep doing it. Because at the end of the day, like, you also want to enjoy what you're doing. Like, just because it's not working doesn't mean you should stop doing it. assuming that you're enjoying what you're doing. If you're not enjoying it and it's not working, change it.
Yeah.
Even if you're not enjoying it and it's working, change it. You should enjoy what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I like the game Hades a lot. I'm trying to eventually, push to like maybe do a speed run or something, but I'm trying to get better at it. And I don't really play it on stream normally because I know that no one in my community plays the game. Like, there's no, like, except Phil and maybe a few other people. They've never heard of the game. It's like an indie. It's just not the type of game that they play. It's a roguelike. You just start it over and over and over again. But will that stop me from playing it on stream? No, I will still stream that game because I'm so passionate about it. I love the game. And, does my view count take a hit? For sure. Do I let that bother me? No, because the people that are there for me and, whatever I'm playing, not just their favorite game.
Exactly. And as a tip on my side here, and it's something that I've been thinking about, is say you want to do a particular kind of content that you don't expect your community to like. For example, with me, I've never done a painting stream. I've never painted minis on stream, but it's something that I want to do in the future. So what I've taken on is I found somebody, Nance, who does Total War Warhammer games, and I devised it as 1,000-hour pro teaches me how to play Warhammer Total War game, right? And then it became, watching me grow as a Total War Warhammer player. And then we went to the retro side and played Shadow of the Horned Rat. And then I've been sprinkling in my content that we're going to be painting miniatures. And eventually we're going to be playing tabletop Warhammer at some point with Nant. So sprinkling in that content and spreading it out across different mediums really helps to kind of grow into that direction.
I also think how you present it to your viewers is, how you present it is going to be whether or not they engage with it, right? If you're saying, hey, I have my friend Nance, they're going to teach me all this cool stuff, like I don't know a lot about it, but come hang out and learn with us. That's different than being like, sorry everybody, I know this isn't our normal content, but I'm going to be doing this today, and then just leaving it like that. Like, I'm guilty of doing the latter. Like, I know that one time I've started a Hades stream and I've been like, I know it's not Minecraft, I'm sorry, just by apologizing that I'm doing the thing that I wanted to do, I know I've lost people. I know that people are going to be like, well, why was he apologizing? It's his show. Like, he can do whatever he wants. So the way that you spin it to your viewers, instead of being like, I've noticed a big difference between when I'm like, oh, we're doing Hades today, sorry guys, to be like, I am going to beat my personal record of my time in Hades with this weapon and this amount of heat. It's just a completely different vibe. It's a completely different, it will definitely make people want to be there more when they're like, oh, this is what he's doing. He's having a great time and he's trying to do this specific thing. Like you were trying to learn. Exactly. Instead of, just being unapologetically yourself and doing what you want to do. People are going to resonate a lot more with that if you are honest and enthusiastic than if you are, kind of meek about it.
Yeah. Or just, present it as like an introduction, This is a game I've played for some time. I think some other people might be interested in it. Maybe you can give it a chance. Like, take a look at what I'm doing here, see what kind of game this is, and then play it as like an introduction where in this game we do this, and this is how we go it, and this is what, the strategy is of going through this area and that kind of thing. And just make it more of an introduction instead of an apology that it's not our normal content,
Yeah.
Because I do agree with you, like, when a streamer starts it out and is like, this isn't what we usually do, but hey, here we're doing this today, it feels a little forced,
Doesn't make you want to be there, you know what I mean? No. You're like, does this person even want to do this? Like, they say that they are, but I'm not feeling it. And again, people are smart, even kids that are watching on Twitch, like, they can pick up the emotions and that you are feeling. If you are not enjoying yourself or you are constantly stressed about how many people are there, if you keep checking your numbers, like, I do think that people see that. People are empathetic. I don't know. People pick up a lot more than you might think. And just being very careful about the way that you word things, especially when you're talking about new things or new viewers and stuff like that. Like, the way that you word it is way more important than what you actually do, I think.
Yep.
You can convince anybody to watch you do anything. I mean, you just have to be confident with it.
And that's one of the things that I tell a lot of new streamers. And if there's anybody here considering streaming, really, really take this tip. This is the number one tip, in my opinion, that streamers need to know.
I know what you're gonna say.
Always pretend you're recording a YouTube video. every chance you got, always pretend that you're making a video that's going to stay on some platform and be seen constantly. You know, you have to keep that rhythm. You have to keep it interesting. Even if you're not recording and not posting to YouTube, stream like you are, because you want to constantly be talking as if it's anything that's going on. If somebody pops into your stream randomly, if you got a 3-hour stream and somebody pops in at 1 hour and 21 minutes, was you talking? Was you interesting? Was you engaging? You know, or was you just sitting there staring at your monitor? Because they might not have sent a message in chat, but they were watching you.
I know a lot of. I'm a huge lurker. When I'm watching people's streams, I don't say a word, unless I'm actively, you know, pulling it up on mic. But a lot of time, it's just background noise for me. So again, yeah, you never know who's watching. If your number is higher than 2, you should definitely be talking the whole time. Another thing that streamers do that doesn't like make me mad per se, but like I think it's holding them back in a sense. When people are like, "Oh, we suck at this game, but we're playing it anyways," you know what I mean? Like, I'm guilty of doing that when I first started out. I'd be like, "Oh, I'm starting Valorant. I'm terrible. Come watch." We know that there's different levels of skill. You know, if you hop into a stream that has 10 to 15 people in it, no one's going to be expecting you to be like this high level player. Like, be confident in what you are playing. Like, if you are going to say that you suck at a game, but you're learning it, just say like learning Apex Legends instead of like, "Oh, we suck at Apex Legends," or like, you know, "Come watch me be bad." Like, yeah, it's funny in a sense, but like, you are going to lose people that just automatically kind of don't resonate with the confidence that you're instilling in yourself. When you're a streamer, you have to be unapologetically yourself. You have to be confident in the content that you're putting out there, because it will show up. So when I see people that have stream titles that's like, you know, "Sucking at Apex Legends" or "Come watch me be bad," I'm like, yeah, like I know what you were going for, but like you really, you know, you could word it in you can market yourself in such a different way that would be, you know, bring people in, right? If my stream title is "Learning Apex Legends, help me out," or like, you know, "Give me tips and tricks," that is going to bring people in that are knowledgeable to the game. And instead of being like, "Oh, they're not good," they're like, "Oh, well, like this is what you could have done better." And, you know, whether or not you allow backseat gaming is on you. But I think that if I had 2 stream titles, one of them said, "I'm learning Apex Legends," one of them said, "Come watch me be bad at Apex," well, what are you going to click on? Probably going to click on the learning one. Yeah.
And that whole thing is remedied real easily by just saying "new to," "first time," "blind," and it's not even a long word. Like, you just got to put that somewhere at the start, and like everybody knows what's going on.
Yeah, just be honest and be confident. And I mean, you're going to see more success that way, because I do see, and this isn't something that I've seen, like just myself. Talked about this with a few other people. It is really prevalent. Like, people are worried that they're not going to be at a high level of whatever they're playing, so they try to downplay that and be like, "Oh, like this is what you're going to expect when you come in here." It's like, we weren't expecting, you know, Shroud. Like, you don't have to be good. We were going to watch people playing the game with commentary. So.
Yep, that's exactly it. And that, you know, and on the flip side of it is kind of my bread and butter. It's actually kind of more fun to have that overconfidence and then just get smacked. Because like, one of the things is, if there's any game out there that I would say I'm good at, it's Dark Souls. And like, my bread and butter is to go, "I know everything that's going on, and I'm never surprised by anything," and then just turn a corner, get parried and riposted by Baldur Knight, and just die. And it is hilarious every single time.
But it's funny because people, you know, when you make your title like, "Oh, this is my this manyth run in Dark Soul," or like, you know, people are like, "Oh, he knows what he's talking about." And then it's funny for them when something like that happens, as opposed to like, "Oh, I'm learning Dark Souls." Like, well, that's going to happen every single time. You know what I mean? Like, as you learn the game. So I think just kind of distinguishing the level of where you're at. I don't know if I worded that the right way.
Main thing is to distinguish your level of where you're at, so that the viewer knows, okay, this is a new player, this is a veteran player. Transparency at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And transparency is such an important thing for everything.
Your stream title, like, I don't know if this is just my own opinion. I should look at your stream title. First off, there's been so many people that have come to my chat that did not read my stream title. Like, "What are you playing?" I'm like, "It says it up there." But if I look at your stream title, I should be able to figure out what game you're playing, kind of what you're doing in that game, and like, how long you've been playing it. Like, I know a lot of people when they play Warzone, they'll say how many wins they are. If you're playing Stardew Valley, you're going to say what year you're in or what season you're in. If you're playing a Minecraft SMP, you know, you might say, or a hardcore world, you might be like hardcore day, whatever. If you're playing Bed Wars, you may be like, in Minecraft, you may be like, I'm looking for this many wins. Road to 5K, like, I don't know. I see that a lot. And, you know, it is a little bit overused. Like, I see if you go into Apex, you know, category on Twitch, you're going to see, you know, arena road to 500 arena wins. But, you know, it may be overused, but like, it's overused for a reason. Like, people want to know what's going on before they click in. People, if they're going to watch that ad, if you're an affiliate, they're going to watch that ad and tune into your stream, they kind of want to know what's going on before. So when people have like really vague titles or just titles that's like sucks at Apex, I'm like, well, Twitch is really bad at discoverability and like pushing your channel and recommended, but like they still do that, and you might be missing out on people that would otherwise click on your channel.
Yep. And I agree with all of that. The only exception I would make is for certain categories like podcasts. Like, there's so many podcasts right now live, and there's no way to really, like, you know, differentiate the podcast through the title. So I just go with a very bland Babbles podcast, Zanadood.
And we also didn't know 100% what we were going to be talking about during this. Like, you know what I mean? We weren't like, oh, this is, you know, at 10 minutes in, we're going to be talking about this topic. At 40 minutes in, we're going to, it's just like a flowing conversation between two creators. So, I mean, again, like podcasts and even just chatting is something that you won't be able to narrow it down with, just because it could go off the rails so fast. If I do a just chatting stream, I'll be talking about pizza one time, and the next thing we're talking about like the fall of ancient Byzantine. Like, it could go so far so fast that you can't narrow yourself down, because then someone's going to come in and be like, why aren't you talking about this? But you're like, oh, that was 35 minutes ago and I wasn't going to update it. So
oh, you just gave me such a great idea, and I think you're the only creator that I could do this kind of segment with. I'm going to put you on the spot, teacher man. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
You have 5 minutes to tell me everything you know on a topic. Teaching-wise.
Okay.
Give me a lesson. 5-minute lesson.
Okay. It's not about computer science. It's going to be about... hold on. I got to think.
It's all good. Take you a second.
Yeah. Keep in mind that I got 3 hours of sleep last night.
Oh, I understand. Subathon and everything. I got it.
Science.
I know exactly what Nance would do right now. See, Nance would take and just start talking Skaven.
Yeah, I was going to say, does it have to be educational?
Not necessarily, though I think it'd be interesting given the theme.
I am going to talk very briefly about John Brown. John Brown was an abolitionist in the late 1800s. Okay. He's the person. John Brown's Body is a very famous song sung by the Union soldiers. You know, and what I did for my student teaching, I went to college in Ohio, and Akron, Ohio is actually the birthplace of John Brown, or not the birthplace, but that's where he spent a lot of his time in. And so I actually went into the John Brown house and I learned a lot about him. But John Brown did the Harper's Ferry. He did a raid. No, it wasn't Harper's Ferry. He did a raid on a lot of like southern plantations and like freed a lot of slaves and kind of created his own little militia, and really was like leading like these slave results in the South. And I just think I can't ramble on for 5 minutes, but I just think it's really cool because this is something that I did not learn anything about. I had no idea that this man existed until I was like in my 20s. Never learned anything about it, but I just think that's a cool little snippet of history that is kind of overlooked.
And it definitely is, because I actually know what you're talking about on that. And I do agree. I didn't learn him until I became an adult as well. Like, it wasn't in my curriculum either.
Yeah. I mean, they can't fit everything, but you know, you think that would be kind of important, though.
Yeah. And you know, that is it is a limitation that we have on teaching. We can't teach everything. Like, to learn everything would just be an impossible goal to strive for. Making sure we teach the most important stuff.
Yeah.
I guess
Sometimes we differ in what is the most important thing, right? I would say problem solving is the most important thing. Other people would just say, deductive thinking. Some people would just say, math literacy. What does that mean? Or, English proficiency. Like, those are vague terms that you're just throwing out there because you don't want to narrow down on something. But I don't know. I could go in, if we want to have a different podcast where I ran about the educational system, we can. I just think we do value certain things that are not going to translate in many people's lives later on in life.
Exactly.
Which makes it really hard for some students to engage in school.
Exactly. And hey, maybe that's something we'll do on a future podcast. Maybe you'll come back in and we'll talk on that. Because I definitely don't mind people coming back, and you're welcome anytime on it. But I'll give a little spill, and then we'll do your side of things. Brimthen Babbles podcast is where pretty much anybody can join, and if you would like to make a request, go to my Discord, and there's a little place to request to come on. Anybody's welcome, as long as you adhere to the rules that I have set on there. And I thank you, Zanadood, for hanging out with us. Give us a little bit of spill of where to find you, your content, and what you do.
All right. Again, Zanadood, you can find me at twitch.tv/Zanadood. My TikTok is a little bit different because I've made 4 different TikToks accounts and deleted 3 of them just because of the issues with actually getting my videos out on the page. So my latest TikTok account, and I'd say my most successful, is Mr.Zanadood. But that's like all the links to that are my profile. But I didn't mention this at the beginning, but I do run a charity stream. So I do donate. This isn't political, but I do donate 50% of my proceeds to an organization called the Trevor Project. If you want to learn more about it, you can visit my page. But that's kind of why I started. I started streaming because of remote learning, as well as, finding an organization that I'm passionate about, that I want to contribute to. If you're a fan of the McElroy Brother podcast, I don't know if anybody here has ever listened to those. That's the same organization that they support as well. And they are one of my big content creator idols, the McElroy Brothers. But other than that, Subathon last night went very well. We're gonna probably hit the hay here after this. Take the dog out and go back to bed. But yeah, thank you so much for having me on. This was a blast. At first I was like, can I talk for this long? It's been a while since I've had a really extended conversation with somebody. But this was amazing. Hey, I'm not gonna say it, but I think we did a pretty good job here.
I think it was awesome. And to speak on that, the average person, because I've done quite a few of these at this point, the average person runs out of stuff to talk about the 45 to 50 minute mark. And that's where I start leading the new kind of topics in and start the anime conversation.
Yeah. Oh, I could go longer. Probably also because I'm sleep deprived. I could just ramble. If you look at the VOD from me last night, 4 a.m, I think I was telling some random stuff. I don't even remember it. It's just a blur. But I just want to say thank you again. And your community is always, very wholesome, very supportive. I'm very thankful to be on this podcast with you today.
Yep. I'm glad you were here. I think it was a lot of fun. And stay tuned for the rest. Peace out.
All right. See you, everybody. Thank you.